Hi guys, this is MJ of Typify, and in today's video, I'm excited to introduce to you one of our guests. Um, she's an ISFP, and I'm excited to to talk to her about the common misconceptions of ISFPs. If you would like to follow her, I'll put her links in my description box. And so yeah, she'll be the one introducing herself, so you can get to know her better.
Great. Thank you so much, MJ. My name is Layla, and I am a certified MBTI practitioner and just a psychology enthusiast. I studied psychology in university, and I've always been fascinated by it and the human mind and human development. So at the moment, I am working as an MBTI practitioner and sort of coaching people in depending on their type. So I administer the MBTI assessment, the official one, and then with that, we use their results to really work out great ways to improve their skills, improve their, certain areas in their life that they want to work on. And it's a really interesting, and I love it. It's a really interesting topic for me. That's what I'm doing at the moment, along with content creation online as well.
Yeah, I actually saw that you do TikTok videos. Is that where you
Yeah.
started before shifting into Instagram, where we met?
Yes, that's right. Yes, yes. So yeah, at the moment TikTok has actually kind of taken off more than I expected. It just started off as a hobby
Mhm.
and something I love, and that's what kind of got me inspired to take the certification in the first place. Was just the popularity of it all. So I started my TikTok. I did the MTI certification, and now I have access to the assessment, which is great, and hopefully helping people learn more about themselves in these kind of fun ways.
So for those who are visiting my channel for the first time, essentially I do these videos to really talk with the types themselves to get to know them and kind of really try to break down or debunk some misconceptions about the 16 types. Personally, I find it very difficult to stumble upon sensing types, especially in the online world, probably because they're busy living their life.
Yes, I
um,
know.
my first question is, um, how did you get into, personality theory and, or, personality frameworks? You did mention that you went to school to study psychology. Is that
Yeah.
where it all began?
I would say, yeah, it started off there. I graduated, I studied psychology and I graduated. And I feel like I had so many life events kind of happening at the same time where I graduated university, I was looking for a job. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I was also getting engaged and we were moving country. So there was just a lot going on at that time. And I was just feeling a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit lost. I felt like everyone had a direction, especially those who studied with me. Like most people went on to do their master's or their PhD, and that at the time was not something I wanted to do. Uh, so so I was just trying to find something that would suit me because with a psychology degree, just at the bachelor level, you can't really there's not really many jobs you can find in kind of that industry. So I
Mhm.
had to change industries, which was interesting. So I decided I want to take the personality assessment. I want to like kind of understand myself a bit better and make sure that I'm not crazy, that I'm not like doing everything wrong. So I took it and I just felt after I'd taken it and I got the report, it was just really validating and really reassuring to know that, it's okay to be me and how I am. I could relate to nearly everything that was mentioned in it. It just all resonated with me so much. And I just found that really amazing because it's sometimes really hard for me to kind of verbalize how I feel or what I think, and just seeing it all written out so clearly, just it really made me like, oh yes, like that's me and that's me and that's me. And it was just really nice to see that. It was such a good feeling. And I would love to share that kind of feeling with other people and have them feel like that, because I feel like so many people struggle with feeling that they're not good enough or that something's wrong with them or that they're not right, or and it's not that, it's just perhaps you don't understand yourself, or you're putting yourself in situations that aren't you're not naturally inclined to. And so I feel like understanding your personality can really help with so many levels. So that's how I got into it. That's where I really first heard about it. And yeah, it was a very exciting time.
Did you get ISFP the first time? Did you take it many times? Did you ever get different results at a certain period of time?
I've taken 2 official MBTI assessments, and both times I've got ISFP, which I found really indicative that the official assessment can be really accurate for some people. Now, I know some people seem to get mistyped, and it's kind of hard. The questions are tricky because you have to get yourself into a mindset of what do I really prefer, like not any social obligation, no family obligation. Because sometimes the questions can be really tricky. Like sometimes I act like this, sometimes I act like that, and it's hard to pick which one. And you really have to think like, what would I naturally be drawn to? What requires the least effort from me? So I feel like if you're in that kind of mind, if you're in the right mindset, in the right environment, then you could probably answer the questions that will reflect your true type. Whereas a lot of people end up trying to either answer in a way that they wish they could be, or they answer in a way that they think that maybe their parents would like to see, or that their boss would like to see. So I think it's a struggle like that. And then there's a lot of online assessments as well, which I feel like some of them are accurate and great, but some of them also are not that great. So it can cause confusion with somebody who's taking loads of different assessments. But for me, it worked both times. I got ISFP both times. When I took, I think I took one of the free online ones, I got INFP. So
Mhm.
it's also pretty close. Pretty
Yeah,
close.
that's true. Um, so besides the two official tests, did you do anything else that made you kind of like, am I really ISFP? Like, did you research on something? Did you study something? To kind of just validate that what you
Mhm,
got there also and what you are
mhm.
is the type that you got in the official test.
Right. To be honest, before I took the assessment, no, I didn't really think about which of the 16 types I am before I took the assessment. It was after I took the assessment. So it's kind of hard to say if, objectively, because I already had in my mind that I'm this type.
Mm-hmm.
But I did obviously look into it more, and I read about the cognitive functions of it, and I felt it really resonated with me, especially things like conflict management, and conflict resolution, stress management, these kind of things. My responses really reflected the responses of an ISFP. Um, and yeah, so I really felt like this is me. Um, so reading that really helped, because a lot of well, actually, introverts in general, like I feel like we withdraw in situations when we're under minor stress. Like we start to become quieter and more introverted and more within ourselves. We don't really express it the way extroverts do.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the stress continues and compounds, for example, you just end up exploding, and it becomes a really out of character reaction. And I feel like a lot of introverts can probably relate to that. But for ISFP, the way it was described, I could really relate to it.
That's really
So
nice.
that's me.
Actually, I'll probably ask this a bit later, but I think it's really trying to distinguish because like I do understand that a lot of types get other types as well, which is exactly
Mhm.
kind of what happened to you.
Yeah.
But I'll ask first how you got into creating MBTI content, but like what
Yeah.
was the, you know what, I'm gonna start shooting videos, editing videos, making videos, and posting
Yeah.
that out in the world.
Well, it was a bit of a spontaneous thought, actually. I mean, I guess very indicative of ISFP. It just suddenly came to me that I was like, you know what, I'm watching other people's videos and other people's content, and I'm consuming their thing, their take on things, but I'm not actually creating anything myself. Like, why don't I do this too? And I didn't expect it to be anything huge or to be a start of anything. It was just a hobby. It was just for fun, and it still is. It still is just for fun. Um, like I said before, I think TikTok just grew faster than I ever expected. I didn't really know what to expect from TikTok with my form videos, and then Instagram. I started to do Instagram, and now I'm just trying to think of ways to differentiate my content from Instagram versus TikTok, because I don't want to post the same thing twice. So I think Instagram, I'll probably take the more quizzes and informative posts route, and hopefully for YouTube eventually I'll start doing longer form videos. So that's my plan. But yeah, it was just like a creative urge, I guess, to just create something myself rather than just feel like I'm consuming content all the time passively without actually giving anything back in a way.
Yeah, I
And then it kind
understand.
of snowballed. Yeah, yeah,
And if
yeah.
for as long as you're happy, just keep doing it.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a bit intimidating sometimes, especially doing talking videos. I mean, you're really good at it, and I want to be more like that. But yeah, at the moment I'm just doing what I'm doing and having fun with it, and hopefully helping somebody.
I think you'll be helping a lot of people just by the fact that you're creating. So again, I encourage you to continue doing
Yeah.
what you thought you would never do. You know,
Yes,
years,
yes,
right?
definitely.
I think
Yes, I never thought that I'd be
yeah.
doing that. That's so true. And it's so ISFP of me because I never had a plan of like, okay, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that. It's all been unfolding as it happens, which I feel is just very indicative of my type and how we operate in general, or perceiving personality types in general. That it just kind of
Yeah.
happens and we go with it. And
Very SE.
yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah.
So okay, so my next question is how come there's a small representation of ISFPs or sensor population you think on, online MBTI communities?
Oh, that's a good question. I've kind of thought about this, and I'm not really sure. I mean, the most like straightforward answer, I guess, would be that we're out there busy with living our real lives, like living in the moment, the practical, here and now, and so we're not really online and researching about ourselves. And so I guess if we're not online looking up the content, then why would people create that content? If there's no real demand for it, first of all, because even I find myself making more posts about INFPs, INFJs, INTJs, because I just feel that people respond to it better. When I make a post about ESFP, it's kind of quiet. And I feel like it's because there aren't any ESFPs really looking for it. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's part of it. And then perhaps as well that sensors, like the content is, it's harder to make a meme out of them, I feel like, because we're more practical and realistic. It's less funny, I guess, like, and less of a contrast in a way with some sensors, that we're just not very memeable personality types. And not to say that we're boring or anything like that, but just that it's more tricky to make content out of that, a type that is the way that we are, is more realistic and practical, and in that sense. So I feel like those are my two thoughts on that.
Yeah, I actually thought the same because I remember someone asking me if I make content for all the 16 types. And I
Yeah.
told them that as much as possible, I try to make for all 16.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I think similar to what you said,
Yeah.
when I make content for sensors,
Yeah.
very often it's not a lot of people are watching it, and I
Yeah.
don't think I don't think it's the lack of interest. It's really just because maybe again my 2 cents. I feel like maybe they're busy living
Yes. Yeah. I know.
things.
I feel that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
I
it's
feel
like
the same thing.
right. So I'm like I'm not gonna be searching about how do I become more like this. You just
Yeah.
become
Yeah.
like that.
Just
Just
do it.
do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You just let it happen. So yeah, I totally agree. I feel like it's just the demand is just less, and that their approach to learning about themselves is a bit different.
Okay. But yeah, coming from that, how do you think has type theory or typology in general helped you in many aspects of your life, especially now that you're a practitioner,
Mhm.
but like as a maybe more of like a core FI mission thing, like
Yeah.
what's something that you believe to have helped you in specific areas, I'd say.
Well, I think definitely knowing my type and understanding types in general has helped me with my communication. Like I can give an example with my husband. He's an ENFP, so he's very talkative, very chatty, has so many ideas. And before I used to find it a little bit annoying sometimes, or like a little bit overwhelming, or like he'd come to me with like a bunch of ideas, and some of them in my mind I'd be like, that's so unrealistic, that's not going to happen, like no. And I've learned now that okay, it's best just to let him do it, let him have his moment, let him talk it out,
Mhm.
work it out himself. I'll just listen, even if I know it's not going to happen. I won't say anything, I won't cut his wings and upset him, because I feel like before sometimes to be like I would just, if in my mind I felt like okay, that's not realistic, I would just kind of tell me okay, that's not going to work, let's move on to the next idea. Whereas now I'm like, no, okay, talk, say it, whatever, like take your time. It's taught me more patience, I feel like, now understanding his type better, and knowing knowing what I know about myself and like, okay, I want to see the realistic side, but there is also a lot of good in seeing the possibilities, that he could open up ideas to me that I never even considered,
Mhm.
which is so great. So that's one key thing. I feel like communication in general, it can really help between two types, and it can help stop miscommunication. So for example, my husband, he likes to come home and tell me all about his day, and just blurt everything out. And to me, I'm the total opposite. I just want to be alone for a little bit and decompress alone. And I feel like he used to think that, oh, like she's being cold and like not, she doesn't want to interact with me, like, after a long day. And now he understands, like, just to give me my space, just even if it's just 5 minutes, and we can, like, it's a compromise, like 5 minutes alone, and then he comes and chats, and so we both get what we want in a way. And I feel like understanding your type and understanding types of those around you, even if you don't know their type specifically, but if you have some idea of how cognitive functions work and how personality types operate, you can kind of gauge what they need.
Mhm.
So I feel like that really, really helps. And for me, FI in particular, I feel like it helps me stay true to myself and
Mhm.
my values. I feel like because I use it in my everyday decision making, but it's not something that other people see. Um, so I feel like it really helps me be true to myself, but also continue to create that harmony that I really need between people. That if I sense there's conflict between people, I get really anxious. And if I feel that it was anything to do with a decision I made, that I feel terrible about it. Um, so so yeah, I feel like it really helps me kind of keep me a bit grounded and get a good perspective on things. If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No, it makes sense. And again, I think it's one of the strongest. It's one of the things that has the strongest impact, I think, in
Mhm.
my relationships and in the
Yes.
relationships of many people in general. So I
Yeah.
think it's really nice to hear you
Hmm.
give your relationship with your husband as an
Yeah.
example. Does he know
Yeah.
that you're ENFP? Is he
Yes,
familiar
he
with
does.
the
I've told
dynamic?
him. Yeah.
But coming from that, have you mentally typed the people that you're closest with, your family, your friends? What kind of types are you mostly surrounded with, close with, or get along with the most?
Well, yes, I have. Yeah. And my sister, she's taken the official Myers-Briggs assessment as well, and she's an INFJ,
Mm-hmm.
and we get along really well. Like even before I knew she was an INFJ, of course, but we always like we've had this special bond, and like we talk to each other about everything. And she really encourages me to do things that are like out of my comfort zone or can help me like see things that I haven't noticed. Or possibilities or like things, future benefits that I didn't consider, if I'm having a problem. So I really go to her like if I'm stressed or something, because I feel like she brings me back now that I know about type, but like I'm seeing it like this. But obviously before I just used to see her as like somebody I'd cry to and she'd help me. But now I can see that it's like that introverted intuition that she's working, she's helping me develop that basically,
Mm-hmm.
and getting me out of my the grip of my underdeveloped TE when I'm in a stressful moment, and bringing me back to like my centered self. So I feel like it's really helping me develop those aspects. Who else? I think my mom is an INFP, which I think really suits her. And who else? My husband's an ENFP. Um, my father, although he's passed away, I never knew what type he really is. I kind of think he maybe was an INTP,
Mm-hmm.
um, just by reading up about things now and knowing how he was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, who else? My brother-in-law is an ENTP, so I feel like both me and my sister have got very extroverted, loud husbands, and we are quite quiet and reserved, which I feel like when the four of us hang out, it's a really nice dynamic.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, those are the main people that are around me right now. Um, and then a lot of my friends, I don't know a lot of their types, but I have a feeling that one of them is an ISFJ, one is an ESFJ, and we get along really well. ESFP as well, I get along really well with. I find them really fun, and they push me out of my comfort zone, but not too much, like, if you know what I mean. Like I feel like my brother-in-law, he's an ENTP, and he pushes me and encourages me to do things, but sometimes I feel like it's too much or too aggressive, to the point where I'm like, no, I can't, like you're expecting too much. But I feel like ESFP have like a lighter touch when it comes to like encouragement. um Yes, I think those are the types I get along with the most. Um, yeah,
Do they
yeah,
know that you do MBTI content now, like your sister, your
yeah,
in-laws, and your
yeah. So my family know, my close family know. And it's really helpful having their support because otherwise doing it totally alone, it's just nice to know that somebody there is that I can rely on to like vent if something's gone wrong or like, just those kind of moments. I mean, they don't really help in the sense like practical helping. It's just more like emotional support. If something goes wrong or if something goes right, I feel like I could celebrate with somebody. Um, but more distant friends, they don't know yet. Eventually I
that's
should tell them.
that's okay in your own pace. But
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So my leading up to my next question is, what ISFP traits do you identify with, and
Mhm,
ones that you don't? So I
mhm,
think this is now we're already entering the stereotype realm,
mhm. Yes.
especially now
Yeah.
that you're in the content creator spectrum. You probably have seen some stereotypes and have seen what kind of stuff people post about your type.
Yeah.
Would you like to walk us through what you identify with and ones that you don't?
Sure. I feel like I feel like stereotypes in general do have some basis in truth, but the problem is when it becomes like an absolute truth and that it doesn't become like tendencies anymore. So I feel like that's where the problem with stereotypes comes in,
Mm-hmm.
that they're not necessarily facts. Um, so I'd start with, I guess, the creative artistic stereotype, of being like a painter or some sort of amazing illustrator or something, with ISFPs. Now ISFPs definitely, they do have an artistic side. I definitely feel like I have an artistic side, but I don't have any patience for painting or detailed drawing or that kind of thing. Like I can't do that. um, Anything that requires like really minute details and you have to be really careful, like I don't feel I could do that. So I feel like I express my artistic, you know um, inclinations in terms of like making things look aesthetic or perhaps making collages or like choosing things for my room that look nice and kind of match or like colors that match, things like that. That's how I express my creativity and my artistic sides. I feel like there's more than one way to just express your artistic, crafty ISFP side. And it's not just through painting and drawing. It can be, but not necessarily. I mean, I think it's just we like to marvel in beauty and aesthetics of things, and see the beauty in little things. So I mean, like to me, like a vase of like wildflowers could be like something that really makes the room beautiful to me, and that could be my artistic outlet for that moment.
Okay, what are the common stereotypes that are not exactly positive, I guess? So let's just say like
Yeah,
do you identify me
yeah,
like
yeah.
hippie?
Yes,
What else? Hippie who doesn't like
I
to
think
be
like
part of
flaky is one,
society.
like flaky and
Flaky.
not I don't know, following through. I feel like that one's a bit harsh. Because I feel like it's the perceptive side of this perceptive preference that like it's hard to I don't know how to say it. It's not that it's hard to commit, but just like knowing that you have something in your schedule, it can be a bit stressful. Like for some personalities, that is like a real like I can anchor for them. Like they can maneuver their schedule around it, and they love knowing that they have this like set date and time. But I feel like for ISFPs and for P preference types in general, they find it a bit stressful. So I think that's where the stereotype comes from,
Mhm,
that it ties them down. Like, and for me, I like to keep my options open for as long as possible so that I can change my mind if I want to, if I need to.
mhm.
I find that that is more comforting to me than knowing that there's something booked. Um, so I think that's where it comes from. But I feel like it's taken in a way that like maybe TJ personalities might see that as flaky, but to me, I see it as, well, I don't want to come in, or this is like, I guess, a less developed ISFP, that you don't want to, bring anyone down. Like, let's say I'm booked to go to a party or something, and kind of on the day, I don't really feel like going, and not because I don't feel like going, but because my mood is down. I feel I'm just not feeling in the mood for it. Um, I might start thinking, well, I don't want to bring everyone else down with me. I don't want everyone to like feed off my mood and see that I'm in a bad mood and then put them in a bad mood and ruin their night. Wouldn't it be better if I just didn't go?
Mhm.
That once you get more mature and you develop your TE and NI, you might start thinking, well, long term, what are the impacts of me not going? Like perhaps there will be serious consequences. or I might, there might be long-term consequences that, um, come out of me not going to this party, and I should maybe reconsider my decision. Whereas, a less developed ISFP might be like, well, I'm just not going to go. And I don't, hopefully they won't see that as flaky, but it's actually for their benefit kind of thing. I feel like that's where they're coming from,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. And yeah, it's just hard for ISFPs to put on that genuine kind of face if they really don't feel like doing something, because their values and being true to who they are is very important to them. So I feel like it can be hard, and that's why they may flake out. So I guess I'm saying yes and no. Like, I agree with it, but I also think that it's coming from a good place. That it's not that we're being flaky because you can't rely on us. It's just that we don't want to ruin your day or ruin your evening or whatever event it is that we were supposed to be coming to. But I do think that as ISFPs mature, that is less likely to happen, that they will commit to their plans and just have to put on a brave face.
How's your relationship with SE? Because like you know how sometimes they say that ESTP is
Mhm.
the bro version of an ENTP,
Mm,
so would
yeah,
be in similar vein, like the
yes.
ISFPs is the more active
Mhm.
version of the INFP.
Mhm. Yeah.
Would you say that you're actually engaged with your SE more
Um,
as a as an ISFP?
I would say I am. I do relate to that. I mean, actually, you remind me of something that my instructor said to us in when I was doing my certification, that the
Mm-hmm.
two types that he hardly ever sees in his courses are ESTP and ESFP. And he thinks it's because of the extroverted sensing, that they just can't handle the fact that they have to sit in a room alone with a computer, studying and focused for hours on end. And like, it's too much for them. They can't handle it. And I honestly could relate to that, because that was my concern as well, in some way, that how am I going to sit in front of a computer for so long and not be able to leave, or not leave the room, not go outside, not have any, like, other plans, or just a break in the day there. I can just do what I want for a few minutes. um so that kind of structure did kind of worry me a bit. I mean, it was fine, and it was a very entertaining course, and so I really enjoyed it, and it wasn't an issue at all. But I did think that, and when I first signed up, I was like, will I really be able to do this? Because for me, yeah, I need to go out, I need to experience things, like tangible things, real things. I don't even know how to say it. Like, just going for a walk for me is like, oh, it rejuvenates me. It keeps my mood up, my energy level up. It helps me think more clearly. And those kind of activities, like just being able to experience the moment, the sun on your face, and it's just little things, like just marveling at little things, um, is enough for me to kind of feel like, oh, okay, it's just rejuvenating in a way. Walks by the river, a nice view, smelling fresh flowers, these kind of things really mean a lot to me. So yeah, I can definitely relate to the extroverted sensing, and feel like it's part of my life.
I like how you talked about your SE because it does
Oh.
show your relationship with your auxiliary function.
Yeah. And it's the function that I think people, when they interact with me, that's the one that they tend to see, because the introverted feeling is what I keep on the inside. And
Yes.
so they see that in me, and they see me as this, like, girl that wants to do it all. She wants to go off and do this place this day, and then go and see this place that day. And they're not big things. It's just like, I want to go see, I want to walk through that field, and then I want to walk and go by the river, and then I want to go, like, to the place where the kids can climb trees, like that kind of thing. It's something I really enjoy. Like, not just for the kids, it's for me.
Yeah. Which is good because I think that is our conscious. So again, thank you, Layla, for joining me for today's video and trying to debunk some stereotypes about ISFPs and really just growing our appreciation about ISFPs in general. So if you
Thank
would
you.
like to follow her, please consider following her in her channels and her socials. I'll put it in my description. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to my channel and following me on my socials at MBTI Time and Typify. So if you want to book an in-depth type assessment, you can get professionally typed by Layla. You'll find her links in my description, and if you also wanna get typed by me, you can see my ad in the next clip. So yeah, Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. It's so nice
Thank
talking to
you.
you.
Follow me on my socials at MBTI Time on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you're not sure if you're an INFP, INFJ, ENFP, INTJ, or any other type, book a typing session with me by visiting www.mbtitime.com. Links in the descriptions down below.